Welcome back to Rabbit Hole Adventures. My name is Joel. I'm back in the hangar for day 2, working on this Quicksilver, trying to get it airworthy again. Yesterday we installed the magneto housing, the fan housing, and did the timing. Today I'm going to start by flipping this flag around. One of my viewers from a video a long time ago informed me that that was facing the wrong direction, and he was absolutely correct. So I'm going to work on spinning that around first thing, and then going to install this GPL starter kit. Going to go through and clean up some of these old rusty bolts, put some Loctite on them, and then see if I can get around to installing this 3-blade warp drive propeller. See what we can get done. First struggle accomplished. Flag turned around. Alright, here we go. So that's where everything's going to be installed. It's going to go this guy, and that guy. Just going to take the bottom pulley there, fish it inside the belt, force her down, loop it onto this outer ring. And pulley's on. And there we have it with the pulley and the green spacer mounted. These bolts were torqued to 18 foot-pounds. It's kind of a pain. Had to craft me a tool here so I could get it in there to hold that nut, which is tightened to a lot more than 18 pounds. Had to use it that way so I didn't have to unmount the king post and push it out of the way, which may have been easier. But now we're on to the gear there. There we have it, starter gear mounted, and small 4 bolts there, torqued to 12 foot-pounds. I was able to just grab it real tight and hold the gear from spinning and torque those down. I also do not recommend getting your forearm pinched in the fan. Did that a couple of times up in there. But that's that, and now I've got to figure out what I'm going to do with the starter. The nut came off, and the cup gear and all that stuff came off the front of the starter. So I've got to figure out how I'm going to torque that back on there since the starter spins. So that'll be fun. Also, while I'm here and before I forget, make sure that you check your belt deflection. Make sure that it's tight. I can't remember where I saw it, but it said something about making sure you can't push it past the mark, which you can't really see there with a finger. I got one finger in there pushing like hell and hurting my finger. But I checked it. It looks good. Well, I just walked back to the bench and realized I've still got to put on the starter housing. So I'm going to do that, but here's what I was talking about with the actual starter. So this spring's supposed to go on here, this cup follows that, and then a lock nut. All this crap fell off, like I said before, went through the propeller. Problem is trying to hold this while tightening this. And I want to install some red Loctite on it. That way it doesn't come off again. I was looking at these threads, and it actually, I don't know how the hell it happened, but it looks like they're gummed up with grease or something, which I don't know. I don't know if that contributed to it or not, but when the starter fell apart, this gear actually fell down and was spinning on the flywheel my whole flight. So big concern that I had there is if it would have welded to the shaft or seized up in some manner, which would have seized my engine, caused an engine out. So kind of got lucky with that. Not a big fan of these GPL starters, as I've mentioned so many times, but I'm going to run what I got. I bought this one brand new, and it fell apart on that very first flight that I took it on. I contacted GPL, sent them an email, still waiting 2 years later. So reach out, GPL. There's the starter housing installed. I did run into a couple of snags. I had to move the king post out of the way by pulling the pin down there in the bottom. Alright, there, that little guy. And in order to do that, I had to get the slack off the cables that hold the wings up. And by doing this here, by using these here PVC pipe that got the little saddles cut in half. These came with my plane, thanks to whomever made them. But they are awesome for holding up the wings when you need it and don't have any buddies, since I'm typically doing this stuff by myself. But that is all installed. I torqued these bolts. They're supposed to be 12 foot-pounds, which I was using an inch-pound torque wrench, 120, and it was starting to stress me out because I felt like they were going to start stripping. I just applied some blue Loctite on it, so I used the old Grok, and Grok told me to reduce the torque spec to 96 inch-pounds, which felt a lot better when it finally snugged. So that's that. And then I've got the starter there calling my name, and I think I'm going to go void the warranty. I'm going to pull it apart because the somewhere in GPL doctrine or somewhere I saw that in order to secure that lock nut, you have to disassemble the starter, and there's a special tool that you're supposed to use to hold the shaft so you can put that nut on. I don't have that, and the starter has already frustrated me, and if it doesn't start, then it doesn't start. So I'm going to void the warranty and see if I can get that nut secured on there. Alright, with the warranty fully voided, I've looked at this thing, pondered it, turned it over and over, and done some grokking. It's a new term, I just created it. I've realized I'm going to install a new nut on the end of that, and I'm going to try to use sheer grip strength. I've been known to have some grip strength. I'm not sure if it's going to break this thing by holding it, but try to torque that thing to 33 foot-pounds. One thing that is concerning, and why I brought you out in the light here, not super concerning, but kind of proves my theory of the starter having potentially had this part, sorry, too many things going on, this part right here, like I've mentioned before, when the starter fell apart, this was spinning on the shaft. So if you look, going back to my point here, this guy's like purple. It's definitely seen some heat. That guy looks like it may be a little purple too, so I'm not sure if my theory is correct, but it looks like that thing's seen a lot of heat. So a little sketch, but I'm gonna go ahead and back in here, turn my swamp coolers back on, and I always shut them off when I'm trying to record because it's too loud. But I'm gonna try to either ruin this thing or fix it. And as they say, it's not stupid if it works, but still got to prove that it works. All right, moment of truth. I got the threads cleaned up. I got a brand new AN nut, lock nut. I hit the threads with brake cleaner and a dental pick. So I've got this guy wrapped in a rag so it doesn't rip my skin off. I'm dripping on my table, but I've got the torque wrench. I'm gonna try to muscle it, and if that doesn't work, we got this guy. Let's see what I can do. Let's put this guy on first. Lots of red Loctite. I don't ever want this thing to come off. I would rather buy a new starter than deal with this crap ever again, but given the new starter that this one is, I don't know if I'd want to buy a new starter. Alright, got red Loctite on there. Let's put some more on there for good measure. All the red Loctite. Nut. Well, shit. That doesn't quite go down all the way. Not even close. All right, pray for me. Well, gave her some ugga duggas. Not certain how I feel about that. Also, I was looking at the pictures of the new starter. This is not the nut that's supposed to go on there. It doesn't have the thread lock nut feature, but hopefully it's not too long. Hopefully it will still work. Hopefully it doesn't fall off. Well, I'm not sure if I did any damage to this thing or not. Hoping I didn't, but I used this here strap wrench, put it around it, gave her hell. 33 foot-pounds. Secured. I also managed to climb back up to the engine and check the length of this to see if the clearance would be an issue. Well, if you recall that big circular gear that was on there, there's nothing in the center of that, so it should be just fine. The only thing I'm concerned about is if I mess this guy up at all. But I'm going to put it together, and if it runs, then this nut shouldn't fall off. If this, well, I say runs. If it starts, then it starts. If it burns out, well, screw it. Would you look at that? It's all assembled, and it spins. Not sure how well it spins. I didn't really check it before. There's some resistance, but it's not terrible. So I'm going to install it. I'm going to see if it works. Alright, starter time. I'm hot, I'm sweaty. It's been a long day working on this thing, but it is so close. Hopefully this starter doesn't fall off. So I'm going to leave the spark plugs, wires undone for now, because that doesn't matter. I just had to do a little bit of cable management, secure all this nonsense so I didn't forget it later. Did notice that these guys are supposed to go through that opening right there, but that's a project for another time. But I'm going to put this starter on. I did read the instructions one more time, and it said that the surface that the ground cable, that guy, is connected to has to be clear paint, and so I filed that off. But y'all ready? And I remembered the gasket O-ring, almost forgot it. That's difficult one-handed. Alright, that's that. I'm going to take these bolts, and I think they were 13 foot-pounds or thereabout. I'll double check it, but I'm going to get that torqued down. It's kind of a pain. I've done it before. So I'm going to use a long extension to get down to it. And then I'm going to bump the starter and make sure that the starter actually works. Hopefully it does. So if you've been with me this long, hopefully you're as excited as I am. Well, friends, there you have it. That starter is mounted. Just noticed I still got to put the fan guard on. But we got the negative, positive, torqued her down to 15 foot-pounds, and I think she's ready to crank. Just out of OCD though, I'm going to put that fan cover on there. And then connect the battery, and then press the starter button. Well, it's always something. I mean, I'm no Rotax repair guy, trying to be, but this guy here looks like it should have gone on before this guy here. Well, let's try the starter anyway. So I'll be honest, I tried the starter button without you, but kind of worried. Sounds a lot stronger. The battery or the starter was having an issue, but let's try it again. Yep. That's kind of worrying. I had the battery on a tender, but it hasn't flown in like 2 years. So I don't know. Hope it's battery. It'd be better if it wasn't either. But That's what I'm getting out of it. So thanks for hanging in there with me. This has been one hell of a day. I forgot to turn my fans on since I've been recording, and it's pretty hot and pretty sweaty. It's been one hell of a day, as I said, but thank you very much for hanging out. If this interests you, that's pretty cool. Maybe message me or something. Let me know. And then subscribe, like, do those things. But thanks again for hanging out. See you next time.